Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Mr. Kamens, while you're up there, I'm curious about the mechanics. How did you happen to be fired? What did put you in the eye of Sauron here?
I mean, we haven't been given any information whatsoever about why some of the people at the U.S. Digital Service were fired and some of us were not. As best as I'm able to determine from the facts that I do have access to, I think I was chosen for firing because I had been outspoken in my opposition to what DOJ was doing before I was fired, and I think I was fired for political reasons, frankly.
Were you a probationary employee?
I mean, it's complicated because USDS people are accepted service, so it's not clear whether we're classified as probationary, and that was not the reason given for why we were fired.
Was any reason given to you?
They said that the agency had been restructured and our services were no longer needed, and then they turned around a month later and started hiring people to replace us.
But by definition, you were filling a unique position and the services were needed. As you say, have they rehired somebody for that position?
They have not. That's correct. There's no one currently filling the role that I was in before I was fired.
And did you get one of these poor performance letters?
Fortunately, I did not. But you know, I think that was a pretext as much as the reason that we were fired was a pretext. I don't think either of them had any truth to them.
Thank you. I want to ask Luke. Luke, you still online with us?
I'm here, yes.
Good. I wanted to ask you similar questions. Did you get a poor for performance letter?
Yes, I did. It was a copy and pasted boilerplate memo that said that there were, it was very brief that mentioned performance issues, but there were none.
And were you a probationary employee?
Yes, at the time I was, and as of the 23rd, I am no longer on probation.
You would have been no longer on probation if you hadn't been fired. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Correct. I have been reinstated.
Oh, you have been reinstated. How did that come about? Did they decide that you were fired by mistake?
It was basically another memorandum that said that because of the rulings in the recent cases, that the judges ruled that the probationary firings were not lawful, so that I was reinstated, and I am now back in my position at the Bronx.
So they didn't decide they'd made a mistake. The court told them they'd made a mistake.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Similar, Luke, you're at the VA, is that right?
Correct.
And you're aware of the plans that the secretary has announced to fire 83,000 people between now and next fall. You've heard of that?
I'm very aware.
And I guess my question is, we've been told that although 83,000 people are going to be fired, in addition to the hiring freeze, in addition to the 2,500 that have already been fired, that services will not be diminished in any way to veterans. Is that in any way or shape or form accurate or possible?
That feels impossible in reality, to say that, you know, services that are already in some places difficult to come by because of staffing and the amount of veterans that we serve. I feel like it's impossible to say that after all of those cuts that we can still guarantee the type of services that veterans deserve.
Now, who made the firing decision? I guess this is a question for all of you. Was this made by the VA, by DOJ, by some shadowy force? How was this decision? Insofar as you know, who made the actual decision to fire people? Luke, do you know?
I have some insight. You could talk to the chief human capital officer, who sent me my original termination notice and then also sent me my reinstatement notice. I think that you wouldn't be able to get any answers from her.
I'm trying to get at who's making these decisions.
It's difficult. It's difficult to know who.
Shirnice, we've got you here. You were at OPM. Did you get a poor performance letter?
Yes, I did.
And was that consistent with your prior evaluations?
No. Like I said, I was promoted. I started in
Can you
August.
get closer to the microphone, please?
Is that better?
Yes,
Better?
please.
I was promoted a month after I had started. And as far as I know, my performance was fine. My supervisor referred me to another position, and I interviewed for it and was hired. And it was all within the same department, and it was a promotion.
So there was no notice to you of any performance issues before you got this letter.
Correct.
And I feel like a psychiatrist. How did it make you feel when you got a letter that said poor performance?
I was shocked. I was kind of expecting something to happen because I had read Project 2025, so I knew what they wanted to do with the federal employees. I didn't think it was going to happen as quickly as it happened, but about 2 weeks before, I had started getting emails saying that I was in my probationary period and my job was being reevaluated to see if it was still necessary.
Well, so you were on probation when you
Yes.
got the
Yes.
firing. Is that true of other people you know that were fired? Basically, it was everybody who was on probation.
Yes, it was about 75 people on the call when I got fired.
And none of them that you know of had performance issues. It was just the fact that they were on probation.
Correct. None of them had, as far as I know, in the one department that I came from, they'd never had performance reviews because they were only there for since August.
Now, the problem with firing people on probation is it's not rational in the sense that there's no analysis behind it. Do you have any notion of who made these decisions? Was it personnel at OPM, or was it DOJ, or what? Were they doing it on orders from somebody? Was there a quota? How did they arrive at the number of people, or was it just everybody on probation?
I believe it was just everyone on probation. When I started getting the emails about being a probationary employee, my supervisor didn't know that I was receiving the emails. My supervisor didn't know. The director of the department didn't know. No one knew. They asked me to send them a copy of the email.
So it sounds like this was not a policy from within the department.
No. And I think a lot of people get it confused when they say OPM is the one that's doing the firing. It's OPM, but it's not. It's DOJ.
Right.
And they're just going under the guise of being OPM because we didn't have anything.
To your knowledge, did anybody from DOJ come and try to understand what you do, or what OPM does, or what the role of your office and department was?
No. And from my understanding, I do know some people that worked in HR. They said that they weren't even allowed to go past the 5th floor in the building.
Well, thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Thank you.
You're welcome.
To our veterans that are here. This is ready, fire, aim. There's no rational analysis. There's no management analysis. We may be losing some of the best employees that we've ever had in this federal government who happen to be probationary. And I understand you're also on probation in the federal government if you're promoted. So you could be on probation even though you've worked there for 10 years. It's not like you're a brand new employee. But to have done this to our veterans, like yourself, it just doubles the offense, not only to you, but to the people to whom you were providing services. I think that's important for the American people. This isn't a case of us defending government employees, which we are, but it's also a case of us defending Americans who rely on these folks for services. Firing the guy that's in charge of protecting the privacy of veterans at the VA, that's going to affect thousands of veterans across the country. So it just, for the past 20 years, we've all been saying thank you for your service. Now these folks are saying thank you for your service. You're fired. That's a hell of a note for this country. Thank you, Mr. Blumenthal.
Thank you.